You are listening to the Small Town Big Talk Show, the weekly podcast for small town people with big dreams and ideas. I'm your host, Rebecca Undum, and each week we'll cover a topic meant to inspire, encourage, and empower you to live big in your small town. Although it has its challenges, nothing beats small town living, and we're committed to sharing the best of what's working in the communities we serve. So enjoy this episode, and we hope it helps you to bloom where you've been planted. My guest on today's episode is Deanne Frieders. She is the blogger at This Farm Girl Cooks. She's a farmer's wife. She's the mom of 4. First of all, she's just awesome, and you're gonna feel right at home with her, like right when you start to hear her visiting and talking. She joins us on the show today to talk about how she pulled off the first ever community dinner in her town with really no agenda other than bringing people together and helping people kind of recommit to the value of the family meal. But the other thing that was really fun is I just openly admitted to her that cooking, while I love it, is just not my strong suit because of the planning and the prep, and it overwhelms me. And then my kids hate everything I cook and all of that stuff. And her overall focus on the blog is simple, delicious meals that your whole family is actually going to want to eat. So she's got great tips for just everyday cooking as well, besides what that can look like for impacting your small town. So without further ado, enjoy this episode with my friend, Deanne Frieders. All right. Well, hi, Deanne.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on the show because we're going to get into the topic here, but we're talking about community dinners. That was something that you took on in your small town, 1,400 people. You can tell a little bit about your background and stuff, but I'm just going to say straight out, as important as food is, and we were kind of talking about how it's kind of the central theme of all things rural, like we gather around food. I don't think I'm particularly skilled in this area. So I'm really happy to have someone on the show who is like, not just a foodie, because I'm a foodie, but I don't create it. And you do. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about This Farm Girl Cooks?
This Farm Girl Cooks.
It's Farm Girl. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. That's the name of your blog. So tell us a little bit about how that came about, what you do now. So as people are listening, they can also go check you out and learn all the goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. First, let me say you're my favorite kind of person because I love people who don't love to cook because I can help them so much.
Yay!
So I say my specialty is getting people in and out of the kitchen so they can do what they really love.
Love
and,
that.
You know, I think with families and just life in general, as much as we love to cook, I think a lot of times it's more about function. You know, it's feeding our families, it's coming in and needing something quick for a weeknight dinner. So I'm a very functional cook. You know, I take shortcuts where I can. And I think that's kind of a benefit of being a home cook as opposed to a trained chef.
Right.
Is, you know, I'm not above taking shortcuts where I can find them.
I don't ever want to interrupt you because you're just kind of getting started here. But what I want to say about that is this is something I think is important also for the fact that we live in rural communities. I have found, and I don't dislike cooking. I just like trying to figure out what the heck I should do and staying on top of the meal planning side of it. That is the truth.
Right.
And then when it comes to making healthy, wholesome choices, I sometimes think we do hit some limits in the availability of certain things, right? So when you're trying to follow maybe more of a gourmet or that kind,
right.
I mean, I'm always like, I've never seen that ingredient and I know for sure we don't have it in my small town, right? So I love to hear that, you know, function is important for us that are in small towns. Okay. So
it is. Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah. Like you said, the Waterman, Illinois, it's in the northern part of Illinois, near DeKalb. That's kind of the nearest big town to us.
Right.
And so we're west of Chicago, but yeah, we, you know, a trip to the grocery store is 25, 30 minutes away. And I got started with my blog in 2016. I had 2 kids and had gotten remarried, was pregnant with a third. And I had been commuting 45 minutes each way into the suburbs at a corporate job. My husband is a farmer. My husband and in-laws are farmers. And we kind of tallied up the cost of daycare for 3 kids. And we said, yeah, this isn't going to work. So after Eleanor, who is now in kindergarten, was born, then Luke came along the next year. And so I remember I was nursing him, sitting in a chair. And I had said part of my responsibility for being at home would be that I would make the meals for our farm family. So when they were harvesting or planting, like my mother-in-law used to make the farm meals. And I said, well, I can do that. Anyway, so that's kind of the very, very like where the seed was planted with this Farm Girl Cooks was I Googled field meals. There wasn't a whole lot out there because I was trying to figure out what do they eat? Like what's going to work for them? And so then I thought, well, if I had a hard time finding it, like maybe my neighbor down the road had a hard time finding it. So I'm going to go ahead and share it on a blog. And my husband was very skeptical. He was like, I said, well, I'm just kind of doing this for like me. And then next year I can go back and look and see what I did. And I don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of like evolved from there. I started sharing. People at first in our little town or family were following along. Right. But then it really gained a lot of traction and became like this Farm Girl Cooks where, you know, it's a thing. But I love it. I feel like it's what I was made for. I'm like, how old am I? I'm 43-ish, I think. And at some point you quit counting, you know, like
absolutely.
You're once like, you get over 35, you just kind of like ballpark it.
Totally. Like, I don't know. I'm over 40. That's all I know. Right. I love it. I love it.
But I feel like it took me until now to really know that this is my thing, you know, like obviously you can tell I love what I do.
I can tell. So can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Because I think one of the things that there are a lot of women that probably watch or listen to this podcast, and I think some men too, but women finding their way and finding their thing, their way to contribute to the family, especially I would say in farming families where there is not an even 50-50 split of household responsibilities between you and your farming spouse, especially during certain seasons, right? So I think that there's a lot of people that struggle with that part of the journey. And I feel like there, with age does come some wisdom. And I'm not saying that you're old. I'm saying that once we live a few more years and we just kind of go, oh, well, this feels good. Do you have any thoughts or advice about how we help the people that maybe haven't lived quite that long and they're struggling to find it? Because I would love to hear a little bit more about, like, you were working in a corporate job. What was it? What was your background? What were you doing?
I have kind of a culmination of things. I have a communications degree.
Okay.
Which kind of had me in an HR realm. I had been a virtual assistant years ago before it was like a normal
an actual thing. Yeah, thing. Right.
And then at the time I was working as an account manager for a biometric company.
Oh,
and
okay.
so just did like with that was just a lot of project management basically and working with customers and then working with our side to, do health events. So it was a job, but it wasn't something that I was super passionate about.
Right.
I don't think I was, I'm sure if you were asked my boss, I felt like I was always in trouble for something. So
really?
It maybe wasn't the best fit for me.
Okay.
I tried my hardest. Anyway, when that job was done and it was fine with me.
Right. Maybe an easier way to ask the question. And I guess I'm just kind of alluding to, you sound wise. I mean, and to come to a place where you're balancing a family, because am I correct now that you have 4 kids?
Yeah.
Right. Because you were pregnant with your third and then your fourth came along shortly after, it sounds like. I guess I really am of the opinion that I want women to strive for what they want. I do. I think careers, if you're wired to want to work outside the home, that's not something that's likely to let go, even if you have 4 kids, right? But I also think that a lot of times women I think there's a bit of a message like, you can have it all and it's easy and it's great. And I don't know that that's always so helpful because it's hard. I think it's hard to full on pursue something else outside of the family. And so I'm a huge advocate for this beautiful blend, right? This harmony of where, and I mean, not everyone should work from home either. So I get it. But how did you come to where that felt right, do you think?
Yeah, I think, I have an entrepreneurial spirit anyway. Right. So for me, I could have been a stay-at-home mom, but I wouldn't have been happy doing that. Like I really did need something else to kind of have my creativity tap in. I didn't plan, like I wasn't like, oh, I would make this thing. It kind of evolved. And so I think just really being patient, allowing myself to grow. I have grown tremendously since I started this blog in 2016, like spiritually, personally, confidence-wise. Now I'm doing speaking engagements where I'm up talking in front of people. Never, ever would have been able to do that before 2016. Like would have stone cold passed out.
Yeah.
But I really think it was, praying about it and really just listening to my heart. Like, how does this feel? Is this scary to me? Okay. If it's scary to me, it's probably because it's a good thing. you know?
Yep.
And I really learned that when I was fearful of things, those were things that I was supposed to do, even if it felt uncomfortable. And then I would do it, and then it wasn't such a big deal anymore.
Right. And then that benchmark, absolutely. And then that benchmark just keeps moving out further and further. That's what growth is. That's what it looks like. And that's what it always feels like, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, you know, it's like you have to feel that bit of like, ooh, this feels a little ishy. And you won't know that it's uncomfortable until you feel that feeling. If it's not, if you're not uncomfortable with it, you're not stretching yourself. That's the truth.
Exactly.
So I think it's just really interesting because it's now like, and you said to me, this is a full-time job that you do in part-time hours, but that simply means this is your primary focus when it comes to your vocation. Outside of, obviously, your family's your number one priority. I get that, but we're talking your contribution to your family. This is what you do.
Right. Yeah.
Super cool. So I, just because I always love to ask, I don't always ask this question, but like, what was the first thing that somebody said to you that made you think, I think this is more than just me and my friends sharing this thing?
I had, there was just kind of a couple things where people would, I'll tell you the one thing that was really cool. I went to a family reunion that we have every year on Labor Day, and my cousin from Wisconsin runs up to me. She's younger than I am. And she says, oh my gosh, I was talking to a friend and she was telling me about this blogger I have to follow. And she said, and her name is This Farm Girl Cooks. And she said, I about fell over. Like this whole group of people that she was friends with knew about me.
Right.
And, you know, and I was like, wow, like it's gone to Wisconsin, you know? But it was really cool because she was excited and they were excited and there was value. You need feedback, right? You need to know that what you're doing makes a difference.
Yeah.
And so that was really the first feedback I had gotten, that whatever I was putting out there was valuable and helpful and, you know, making a difference. And so that was so empowering. You know, it was, I want to do more of this.
Definitely. Yeah, that's super cool. Because I think what I want to really hone in on with your story in particular to people that are going to be listening to this is that you, like you said, I didn't set out to make anything. You actually publicly chronicled something you were working through yourself and ended up finding you had an actual knack for it, which is really cool. And then I think this is where I really hope that this feels inspirational to people. That, again, like my hope is that people recognize their small communities don't hold them back. You know, that we don't only see the limitations and we see the possibility. And you're a beautiful example of that, right? That you shared something that you were naturally good at, naturally gifted at, and it imparted value to other people. And then it becomes a business, even though that wasn't what you set out to originally do with it.
Right.
Which is so cool.
Yeah. And, you know, it's kind of like there wasn't something right there for me. So I think sometimes in small towns, you kind of have to, you make your things, you know?
You make your thing. Absolutely. Yep.
And so that's, you know, kind of what I did. There wasn't something that was a good fit that had the flexibility that I needed, that had something that I was passionate about, that fit within my normal world that, you know, that moves really fast and is really busy. But this did work. I was able to work on it. And yes, sometimes I'm working on it at 10 o'clock at night, you know, like, but that's my choice, you know, because I want to be doing it.
A quote is coming to my mind and I'm like sitting here thinking it could be totally wrong, but I'm pretty sure invention is born out of necessity. I believe that's a quote.
Right.
We'll see. We're going to call it a quote right now. I will fact check my own self when we're all done here.
But just make it one.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good, right? But as I'm listening to, I mean, that's kind of what it is. Like we create things sometimes out of our situations, and that's small towns can be a situation. If you find yourself in one and they don't have exactly what you feel like you want, maybe the answer is something that you will create. And I just want more people to embrace that, or at least sideline it, do it on the side of something else, and just see. We can test things out in small ways and you just never know. So
that's absolutely
really, really cool. Okay. So let's talk food.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk food. I would love, well, and again, like our overall topic really is about this community dinner that you did, because I think, again, people rally around food. There is something very divine, maybe is the word. And wholesome and pure and honest and real about breaking bread with people.
Right.
So where did the idea come from for you? And then tell us a bit about how you did it. And by the way, you're going to create a checklist or something, right? Can we talk about that?
I'm going to have a checklist. Yeah. And I'll have a checklist based on how I ran my community dinners so that if anybody's interested, they can totally download it and just kind of know, like, as they're setting up the framework, they can learn a little bit from my mistakes and,
Sure.
and look into doing something in their own community, because I think it's a fabulous addition that, people can come together for.
Right. Well, what I hope is that, again, when people look at it and they just go, oh my gosh, because I want to ask the question, how many people came to your dinner?
I think we had about 70 people.
Okay. Well, that's a manageable number in my brain. It's like, I don't want people to go, oh my gosh, if I did a community dinner and we had 400 people there, what would we do? Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But
we
I
actually
bring people together. That's the goal. So
yeah, it was bringing people together. It was also facilitating conversation about why I felt like it was important to get the family around the dinner table.
Yeah.
There was like passion there, and I wanted it to be not overwhelming. We had some cost restrictions. So, couldn't feed 400 people without getting, more donations, and the space too. Where are we going to find, I could put it on in the school gym or something, but I wasn't looking for something on that magnitude. I was looking for something a little more intimate and something where, especially for the first one, we're going into it kind of blind, like not knowing what it was going to be.
Right.
So I was super thrilled with that number.
Right. So take us a bit through it, if you would.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you do Enneagram stuff at all, but I'm a 7. So my mind is usually like in like 13 different places. And I always have ideas all the time. And one of my ideas was, I was like, I think it'd be really cool to do, a farm dinner, like a harvest dinner. But then I wasn't really then you get into like liability and stuff with having people out at the farm. And do I want to worry about people going through my house that I don't know? So then kind of researching a little bit, then I thought, well, what if we do a community dinner? And had started researching it. I came across the Family Dinner Project, and they facilitate helping people do community dinners, usually through nonprofits.
Okay.
But I just forged ahead anyway and was like, well, I'm going to figure out how to do this. I'm not going to set up a corporate, like a nonprofit corporation to do this. Well, that was just more than I wanted to take on. So, it's kind of funny, but there's a gal that I had met a few times, just, like dropping off kids at Bible school in the summertime, or I had seen her at like another community event. Didn't know her very well, but I just, on Facebook, I messaged her and I was like, hey, this is Deanne Frieders. We've met a few times. I'm looking at putting together a community dinner, and I think you'd be like a fabulous co-partner. Is this something you're interested in? And I sent it, and then I was like, oh gosh, like this lady's going to think I'm totally nuts, but I thought the worst she can say is no.
Right.
And an hour later, she's like, yes, I'd love to. So, because I had told my husband, he had no interest in putting it on. Like, that's not his thing. That's not his love language.
Do you know what his Enneagram is?
He's a 1.
Okay. I just out of curiosity. I think I'm married to a fairly opposite personality type as well. So it's kind of fun. And that's okay.
Yeah. Sometimes he just kind of shakes his head at me and like, okay, there she goes again.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot. I can appreciate that.
So luckily on this one, though, because you really do need support from your partner when you're going into something like this.
Right.
And, I think he just kind of thought, well, here's another one of her ideas. And I don't think he had any idea of what it would look like. That's he's not a real visionary. But Katie was. And I couldn't have done it without her. She was like the one that went to the county health department, and like I was scared to go there. And she tackled some of that stuff. We did just to have somebody to bounce ideas off. We did a taco themed dinner. We thought that was like casual and fun and easy. Mm-hmm. So, but she went to sponsors. We got local sponsors from our communities and just said, we'd really like to do this. Would you help us, put this on? Right. And, people were generous for not knowing what this was. It wasn't something that had been done before.
Yeah.
And we made sure to make mention of them and had some signage at the actual event and on the promotion of it,
Sure.
But, she helped with that. When all was said and done, we had, newspaper coverage, and we had, like I said, the people showed up. Some of them had no idea what to expect. They weren't sure what they were coming to. But to me, I thought it was awesome. Like they're there, they're willing, and it was just a really great evening of just conversation. And we had icebreaker, like bingo and conversation starters at all the tables.
That's really fun.
the kids were really into it, which we hadn't anticipated. They wanted to be totally hands-on,
Like
so we
your
had
children.
like down the road's children. They were like, can we help serve? Can we help? What can we help do?
Cool.
So it was just a really fun, vibe. It wasn't like anything I had been a part of. Just a very cool experience.
One of the things I love about it, and again, like I'm involved formally in organizations and groups in the community. And one of the things I love about it is that you didn't have a business agenda of any sort. And I think sometimes that makes a difference because it's almost like you get dinner, but you have, it's like the timeshare. Like those, you get this big discount, but you have to listen to all of this. And obviously you had something that you wanted to share, but it was universally applicable and it wasn't self-serving.
Right.
Which I think is really unique and really important in something like this, just to do it for the good of the community. And again, you had an agenda in the sense that you were like, I want people to embrace the importance of family meals, but that's not an agenda that you are served by through your business or whatever. So I just think that's something really cool for people to think about. Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely a way for me to serve my community.
Right.
Because, I reach out and I talk to people from Saskatchewan, Canada, and I talk to people from, Wyoming, but there's a part of me that wanted to make sure that I was still, centering around my local community too, and not just looking outward. I really wanted to kind of share what I was about with the locals, I guess.
Yeah. So of the 70 people that were there, did most people already know each other?
There were some people who met each other, and that was part of my reason for wanting to do it. We had a lot of newer families move in, and I think, it's really hard. It can be really hard when you move into a small town and don't know people.
Definitely.
It can be really intimidating. And that's what I found out from Katie after the fact. She had said she had just told her parents she's not from here. And she had told her parents that she was just really looking for a sense of connection and a purpose in the community. And she said it wasn't a couple days later that I had emailed her. So, for her, it was a really great way to kind of get immersed too.
Sure.
And then even I do a funny dance around living in a small town because I grew up in Shabana, the town next door.
Right.
And when I graduated high school, I was like, I'm out of here, and I was gone for 20 years. Then I met my husband and now I live like 5 minutes from where I grew up.
Right.
But there's that awkward thing. Do people remember who I am? I grew up. I'm different. Do they know me as someone else other than Ken and Kathy's daughter? So there's always.
Can I appreciate that? And yet I was only gone 10 years before we returned back to my hometown. But yeah, I mean, you are a combination of all of those things, and yet it's not all you are. And yet that might be the only way people know you or remember you, and that's their perception. So then I do think for those of us that return to our communities or in like the neighborhood is to go out of our way to establish who we are now. I mean, I just think it's not on the people that live there to do that. Like we have to be more proactive, and that can be challenging to say the least, to kind of reacclimate to your small town. But
yeah, it took me a little bit of kind of dipping my toe in and tiptoeing around, and now it's just here I am.
Right. Yeah. So. Very, very cool. So is this going to be an annual thing, do you think?
I don't know, because we don't have like a fundraiser, I feel like we can only ask corporations to do it, make donations
so often.
And we didn't ask people for monetary donations. We could have, but we didn't want anyone to get there and feel uncomfortable. So we are doing another one in March. We do have enough money for a second one. We're doing a soup and like soup breadstick type thing because it's going to be March 1st. And I feel like by that time in the Midwest, like everyone is just sick and tired of winter, and it seems to be lingering forever.
Yep, absolutely.
So I thought it might get people out of their houses. We're doing it like in the early afternoon, so before it gets dark, because once it gets dark, you don't want to like leave your house.
Nobody
again.
Wants to leave. Yep.
No. So we are going to do another one, and then I want to do a summer. Like I'd love to do a food truck, like coordinate a bunch of food trucks coming to town and doing something like at our Lions Park, which that one people would pay for, but I could orchestrate it at least to get them there. So those are kind of my my next two things.
Again, I want to highlight, having never met you personally, right? And here we are talking about this. There are so many ways you can serve your community and fulfill your own purpose that is about your passion for food. And like you're talking about, they're two very different things, this food truck event. But I love that you're thinking about, how do I use my particular like passion and love and skill set to serve my community and do something that feels meaningful to me. And I wish more people would brainstorm things like that, just thinking like that, because that's all it takes. And those are interesting, unique, different experiences that we can offer people in a small town. And that stuff sticks with people, like,
right.
And it's not just something to do. It's so much more than that.
And I think people used to, back in the day, come together a lot more in small towns as a community. They had, ice cream socials and, church picnics and everything. I do think things have gotten a lot more regulated and, things like that. But
like the rules have made it harder to do those kind of informal gatherings, right?
But I also think that there's a real desire for people to have things like that do connect them. And like you said, food is such a great way everything is centered around food. Every birthday party, every wedding, lunch meetings, like everything centers around food. And, this is no different. So.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, give us a few tips. Those of us because honestly, no kidding. My kids came, so I have 3 kids, right? They're 10, 8, and 5. Okay. They came up for breakfast this morning and I said, I don't always ask this because sometimes I don't have the capacity to entertain what they all want for dinner, but I was sitting there and I was like, what do you guys want for dinner? Well, they didn't ever land on anything and they walked out the door. And I remember thinking I still don't know what I'm making for dinner. Right now, it's middle of the afternoon. I don't know what I'm making for dinner. So do you have any tips for the families, either the moms or the dads? Because obviously there are some dads that take on the primary role of cooking. This is not the case in my house. But what tips do you have for us to make that easier?
Yes.
And I didn't even prep you with this, so I'm sorry, but...
No, I could talk about this all day. How many hours do you have?
You're like a functional cook. I'm like, yeah, bring it. Let's do this. So what you got?
Okay, well, rule number 1 is always keep 2 frozen pizzas in the freezer for emergencies like Tuesdays. I am not above, having to have that. Yes. But freezer meals are my go-to. And I don't do huge sessions where you make 60 meals in 2 hours or, in 2 days. I do make 5 meals in an hour or half an hour. Pop them in your freezer. Because even though food and blogging and this whole thing is my domain, there are nights where I don't feel like cooking dinner either. And that's a night when I can just grab something that I made when I did feel like doing it and use it.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to hit your website hard because we had a once a month cooking club and it was a club that met twice. So we really weren't a club, but we called ourselves that. We tried to give ourselves the name and stuff. And that was actually, it was really fun. And we drank wine and cooked all together. We didn't bring our kids. That was a number of years ago. But I remember how much I loved going to my freezer and being like, oh, look at this. And it was this beautiful, delicious, healthy meal. But again, it's the planning. And that's total cop-out because I'd rather do that than not, than go, oh, it's frozen. Shoot, we're eating our emergency pizza again because I didn't plan anything, So I can't wait to find some recipes because my kids, I don't know, I would love to. I'm not making this about me entirely, but my kids don't like foods that are mixed together.
Oh, that's hard.
It's super hard. They like a meat by itself and a vegetable by itself.
Sheet pan meals would be awesome for you then when you just put the chicken and the vegetables on a sheet pan.
Yep.
And then, you could even serve it right off that. They can just take what they like, or you can plate it up, have a bowl of the vegetables.
Sure.
But that would be good. So they're not even really crock pot fans then either, probably.
Well, they're not, I don't want to say they don't like anything, but casseroles, the traditional casserole, they're not down for it. I don't know if I just haven't found the right mix of stuff, but I literally will look at them and be like, everything in that dish is stuff you eat separately.
Right.
What's your problem? And they just, I don't know, and then they pick and makes me crazy.
No, look at I've got skillet meals, which are super easy, and those are less than 30 minutes. And I honestly don't have many casseroles on my blog.
Okay, good.
And I think it's because I grew up eating them. Yes. But I grew up, my mom had my mom was like a very creative cook, but we also ate a lot of casseroles because she was a full-time, working mom, and they were convenient. And but I also try to eat pretty healthy, and sometimes casseroles, it's hard, to find something that has everything, all the flavors you want, but still good for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So it was freezer meals were your second tip, I think. So number one was have emergency pizzas on hand, which I'm down with entirely. We always have frozen pizzas that the kids can make.
Yes.
And then number two is freezer meals. And then was there anything else that you'd add? I'm going to totally check out, as all of you listening should too, go check out her recipes.
Yeah. Then the sheet pan meals and skillet meals, like those are all really easy to put together. A lot of them just have like 5 or 6 ingredients. And they're, not a lot of hands-on time, which is nice.
Right. You're going to help me. And the thing is, like, we're the kind of family that like butchers. We don't have our own cattle. We're not livestock people, but we've got friends that have cattle. We've got friends that have pork. And so we usually
have a freezer.
Yeah. We usually have a freezer full of good meat, right? So it's always there for me, Deanne, but I'm like, and then if I don't thaw it in time, and oh my goodness, I'm telling you,
okay.
I get mad at myself.
We need to become friends. We're going to be close friends after this, and I am going to
We're already friends. We're already friends.
We are.
Yeah. But no, for real, this is
we have the same thing. We have beef and freezer in ours too. And like one of my dream blog posts is to write like every cut of meat that you get when you get like half of a side of beef and what to make with it. Because so many times people do get like, I have all of this such and such. Like, what do I do with it?
Right.
Or how many ways can I make pork chops?
Well, and even chicken breasts. I mean, chicken is so healthy for us. And I mean, really, like it's lean and it's all the things, like all the protein. But I get so sick of it. And then, we live in the Midwest where if I could grill all year, man, I'd be a happy camper, right? Because I love the taste of grilled food. But so here we are. Like one of my middle son was like, let's have steak. And I was like, oh, I mean, I could make you steak, but I'm just like, steaks in anywhere other than a grill. Like to me, I'm just like, it's just not as exciting. So
I say you fire up the grill anyway.
Well, we could. Ours right now is basically buried in a corner. So I'd have to like plow it out basically. But so I think it's good. I can't wait. I'm serious. I can't wait to go because I'm going to go out as soon as we get off this call. I'm going to go out to your website and I'm going to find a skillet, either a skillet meal or a sheet pan meal. Because I've got good quality ingredients in my house. I just, again, it's a matter of, I just don't really know. And you can Google. I mean, obviously Google exists. I get this.
Right.
And I do that a lot, but it's usually the 11th hour.
Right. And you're like panicking, frantic.
Right.
And then you have so many decisions. It's like, which one do you pick?
Yes. Right. And I always end up picking something where I have all but like one of the ingredients. So then I still have to go to the grocery store anyway. Okay. And I'm trying to cut down all the extra trips to the store too, right? Like, these are real mom problems.
Frozen veggies need to be your friend.
They are my friend.
See,
but I'm excited. I'm excited to look and see how you use them, or if you have a different way I should be using them, or whatever. So totally gonna check it out.
Yes.
Okay. Gosh, it was fun having you on the show.
It was a blast being here.
Yeah, you were a delight. I always say, like, I get to meet these beautiful and amazing people. And like, one day we need to have a big event where we all come together and hang out.
I am game.
Perfect.
Put me on the list.
That's fantastic. So for everybody listening, where can we find you?
Okay. I'm at my blog, of course, is thisfarmgirlcooks.com.
Okay.
And then on Facebook and Instagram, those are my 2 big social media ones. And it's also under This Farm Girl Cooks. I also have a community on Facebook, a private community called The Kitchen Nook. But if you subscribe to my newsletter or anything like that, you'll see, there's a spot that mentions it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then again, for everybody listening, make sure that you check out the show notes so we can find the special checklist to host our own community dinner, which I bet there's going to be people listening to this that are like, I've had that idea, but I don't know how to start. So thank you for giving us. And again, I get it. You're not like saying this is exactly how to do it with absolutely no problems or hiccups, but you are saying, here's the hiccups we ran into.
Right.
And helping people kind of avoid some of those to start.
And they weren't, unsurmountable. It was just, like, we got to kind of come up with like a little workaround here. How are we going to do this? And, what's life without a challenge?
I know, right? Well, if it's easy, is it really worth doing? I feel like everything worth doing usually has some challenge involved. So that's all good. Okay, so my last question for you, which I kind of told you, I only have one scripted question ever in our podcast episodes, is what does living big in a small town mean to you?
Okay.
to
Living big
to the
in a small
blogger, to
town.
the lead blogger at this Farm Girl Cooks.
Yes. I think living big in a small town just means that everybody brings whatever is unique to them. You know, when you have a smaller pool, but you have an active group of people who engage and do and share, that's what makes a small town live and breathe. And,
right.
You know, there's no right or wrong thing that people bring to the table. You know, I use that phrase, of course, food blog, but
that's punny. I like it.
Yes, thank you. But, you know, people can have the most diverse skill sets, and it can all be put to use somehow in making everything just thrive and be a place where people are proud to call home.
Right. Oh, amen. Amen. Well, I'm sure the people of Waterman, Illinois are so thrilled that you call their community home.
I hope so. I hope I make them proud.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. You are a pure delight.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Small Town Big Talk Show. If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to subscribe on Stitcher, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, and we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review. The more reviews we get, the easier it will be for other small town friends to find us. We encourage you to keep on living big in your small town, because the size of your life is not determined by your zip code.